I think the mechanical aspect of it, the adventure and the freedom of flight, and the beauty, just all of that appealed to me.
Since he was a teenager, Russ Clemens has been a pilot. His family moved right next to Gillespie Field in the late 60s, and there he found the perfect job to indulge the irresistible allure of the sky.
I worked on the field here in exchange for flying time, and I soloed when I was 16.
He got his power license a couple years later. Eventually, he was flying corporate executives around for Teledyne Ryan. But this isn't a story about flying. It's not about piloting beautiful, elegant airplanes. This story is about creating them, designing them, building them piece by piece, metal and wood and fabric and glue. And like so many great success stories, this one starts with losing a job. Yeah, that Teledyne Ryan job.
A good friend of mine wanted me to restore his Bucher biplane, which happens to be this red one right behind me.
And since he didn't have a job anymore anyway,
restored that one, and then subsequently restored others, and other people asked me to do theirs.
In fact, he ended up restoring 5 Bucher airplanes, and they were all on the runway that day in June for the long-awaited Bucher fly-in. Close to 30 planes from nearby and far away, all getting together for just one day. It was like some Pixar movie. While all the humans are hobnobbing in assorted hangars, all the planes are eyeing each other, sizing each other up, secretly admiring each other, wondering how well the other could fly. And there was a special guest there that day. From a place and time that now only exists in history books, was a man who still remembers everything about it.
Yeah. I was an instructor on this aircraft and many others.
This aircraft was designed in 1934 by the Bucher Company in Germany, and it was the Luftwaffe's primary trainer.
But why the Bucher?
Because the pilot goes from nothing to flying. So he has to have something simple, something easy to learn flying in the air and landing, taking off and landing.
But there was a huge misfire in the Germans' training strategies.
The original Luftwaffe aircraft only had 100 horsepower in them, and they went from this little, under 1,000-pound airplane with 100 horsepower, and they stepped into an ME-109 fighter, which had 1,000 horsepower and probably weighed 4,000, 5,000 pounds. So they wrecked a lot of them too. It was just a little too big a step.
Still, the Luftwaffe, the Germans' air force, was a deadly adversary to our own. And George Scipianka's part in all that?
I just trained the guys to become good fighters or good bomber pilots or whatever. Yeah.
And though it might have been the costliest of mistakes to advance pilots from a small biplane to a ferocious fighter, the Bucher did exactly what was asked of it. But what was it about this plane that made it the perfect trainer?
This was actually our aerobatic aircraft. For aerobatics used mostly, also some formation flying.
They are considered to this day to be the Stradivarius of biplanes. They fly, their handling characteristics are superb. I mean, you just think about what you want to do and it doesn't. You just move the stick a little bit.
The Bucher story is a small but significant bookmark in the long record of world history. Yet there it was, the friendly but high-spirited trainer plane transitioning young men from their casual and common lives to new lives of dogfights and bombing missions and duels to the death. But they were confident because they had learned to fly in one of the very best trainer planes in the history of aviation. And 2 words sum it all up: German engineering.
It's purely lines and straight lines and symmetry. It's not an air show. It's a precision, undefined lines and geometry.
If not for Hitler's ultimately fatal addiction to power, German engineering might have won him his war. Today's history lesson: the Bucher. For Back East Magazine, this is Steve Goward.